think the bottom line here is these people are human too. I had a long talk with Dick Gephardt this morning about his feelings and his emotions. He told me he's been bursting into tears watching some of the coverage. The man you just saw has been bursting into tears watching some of the coverage. So I think there is a unanimity. There's a feeling here on Capitol Hill. They have to do what the president wants them to do. One other thing I wanted to mention, they passed a resolution this morning in the House asking every American to fly the American flag for the next 30 days. Darren.
I think that's something a lot of people would like to follow. Quickly, as we wrap, give us a quick civics lesson, and our viewers, does the House just vote on the amount of money, or does it have to go by the Senate as well?
It's going to be done by both the House and the Senate, but this is a rare occurrence on Capitol Hill. They're going to take it up at the same time, and it's the same language, the same bill, the same piece of paper will be passed by both chambers, sent to the president, and as I say, they hope to do that by later today.
Right. Kate Snow on Capitol Hill, thanks for explaining what's taking place there. Leon.
Well, I've been keeping my eye on something that's taking place right now at George Washington Hospital Center. President Bush has been there visiting those who have been injured in the plane crash into the Pentagon a couple of days ago, and the families of those people there. The shot we have there, we just saw moments ago, Communications Director Karen Hughes walk out along with Karl Rove. And we expect President Bush will be walking out of there any moment now. President Bush is there visiting those in the hospital along with First Lady Laura Bush. And we've also just learned that the First Lady has granted an interview to CNN's senior White House correspondent John King. And they'll be talking live this afternoon right here on CNN at 1 p.m. Eastern. There you see President Bush stopping there momentarily, talking to those are members of the press there immediately around that doorway. So I don't think he's speaking to anyone in the general public out there. But the comments he has made this morning show that this has really touched him on a deep level. He was very emotional this morning in the Oval Office speaking to the press before he went over to this George Washington Hospital Center, with tears welling in his eyes. The president said that I weep and mourn with America, he said, and he wishes he could comfort every single family whose lives have been affected. But make no mistake about it, my resolve is steady and strong about winning this war that has been declared on America. He says also, I'm a loving guy, and I'm also someone, however, who's got a job to do, and I intend to do it. This is a terrible moment, but this country will not relent until we have saved ourselves and others from the terrible tragedy that came upon America.
Leon, it was an interesting peek inside the White House that we had. I think it was just over an hour ago. First, we got to see live the president holding a conference call with the mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, and the governor of that state. And we got to basically eavesdrop in on that conversation. And then he turned around and started answering questions to the reporters who were with him. And while we were watching that he did appear to become more and more emotional, not out of control, but you could just see his eyes became a little bit more glassy. And as he talked more and he became angrier at the situation, you could see his emotions rising as well.
Now, he just stopped there for an impromptu press conference there to talk with the members of the press that have been following him. And we've got someone in that press pool, and I want to hear what they have to say about, or what they heard him say just moments ago. And as that moment that those comments you happen to mention there that got him so emotional in the White House, even after all of that, he went on to talk about the fact that war had been declared on the U.S., and he says that they fully understand. He's talking about the folks that he had talked to in building a coalition about this. He was speaking to Middle Eastern leaders as well as leaders in Europe and NATO, saying that they all fully understand that an act of war was declared on the United States of America, and they understand as well that act could have easily been declared on them. And he says that is what has steeled his resolve.
Yeah, and an interesting confluence of pictures to go from that then to see his father, the 41st President of the United States, President Bush, former President Bush, speaking to a group in Boston. We got to listen to his comments as well.
We have another picture.
Another picture. This time we want to check in Milwaukee.
Jeff Flock,
That's where we find our Jeff Flock. Jeff.
Yes, we have begun a trip around this country, taking a look at what people are thinking and saying out here in the rest of the U.S. Obviously, the focus has been to the east. We want to take a look at the rest of it. We are taking stop one at Marquette University. This is Professor McCormick's class. It's comparative politics, and this is what's on everyone's mind. You've been watching things unfold, and first I want to get hands. How many people saw live on television either planes crashing into buildings or towers collapsing? How many people saw something of it unfold live? Amazing. Almost the entire class watched this happen. What was going through your mind then, and what is now today? 3 days later?
I was pretty scared because I just got done with the ROTC physical training, And I came in, and my grandma just called me, and I just bought my airplane ticket yesterday. And she told me that, 2 planes had just crashed, and I looked up the news. They just had an instant replay of the plane, the second one just going right through.
What are your fears today as we are now some ways down the road? Where do we go next from here?
My fears are that it's not over. My fears are that, somebody's going to come by surprise and totally do something that's just as destructive to the entire nation.
How many people are worried about that, are worried about future terrorist attacks? I guess pretty much everybody. Going through your mind?
I'm quite nervous because I'm a frequent flyer from Milwaukee to Boston, and I find it highly disturbing that somebody was able to breach the security at an airport like Logan.
Are people really surprised about that? I mean, how many people, give me some sense, were really shocked about this, about what took place? Yes, hang on, let me get to you with a microphone.
This isn't something that happens in real life. This is like something that you would see on a movie such as Die Hard or Speed. It was like a special effect from a studio.
I know we've got somebody here who's planning to, is it you that's planning to travel tomorrow? Yes. Tell me about that.
Well, my flight's leaving tomorrow, and
good luck getting on.
I know. Beginning of the week, when this first happened, I was thinking, it should be back to normal by maybe Thursday, today, or Friday. But with everything, I see that flights are supposedly resuming, but for the people that were laid over on Tuesday. And I'm just curious as to whether I'm going to get home or when, or what's going to happen with all the new regulations in the airports.
Obviously, we were talking about that earlier, the impact on our society. I want to bring Professor McCormick in. What's your greatest fear about this? You've got more perspective than some of these people in the class.
I really hope that this incident doesn't shake our values. We're a free nation that stands for freedom and justice for all, and I hope we can stick to that.
Any other fears out there? Do people have similar fears? Yes, go ahead.
Well, you hear everyone talking about how we have to get back to normal and we have to get back on with our lives, but my biggest fear is that, the very definition of normalcy is going to change now, forever.
Life as we know it is going to be different. How so? Anybody? How so? How so is it going to be different?
Well, we as an American nation, we don't know war as a daily thing. I think that we're going to have a hard time adjusting to a war society instead of our normal going to work, going home every day.
Before we get away, we've heard a lot, we're at war. How many people feel we are at war right now? How many not? Just both sides? Why?
I don't think we're at war because we don't know who we're fighting. We can't go to war when we don't have a specific enemy that we're going after. So we're kind of in a pre-war stage. I think we will go to war, but we're not there yet.
Is that what you're thinking over there, that war is coming one way or another?
I think we're already at war. They took the step of assaulting large numbers of civilian populations, and the fact of the matter is we have to wipe out terrorism as it exists now. That's the only choice we have, or else this will keep happening. Better to do it now than when they have nuclear weapons in 5 years.
Yeah, but hang on before we get away here. Yes, go ahead.
I think that war is more than just troops on the battlefield or missiles being thrown. It's more of a state of mind. I mean, that's also a part of it, and I think we've taken that first step, and definitely people have that state of mind already.
I don't know which is more scary, the state of mind or the real thing.
My biggest fear is that our response. War today is way different than war was 40 years ago. I mean, just the technology has totally changed the way that it will be, and that's my biggest fear.
Yeah, I hear that. A lot of fears about the response, whatever it is, whenever it is. Yes?
I think that we were left with little choice. Either they have to turn over bin Laden or whoever's responsible for this, or we just have to go in there and get them. I think that's what we're left with.
Anybody get a sense of what it is? What do we have to do? What do we have to... let me get to you. Hang on one second.
Well, I have heard some people saying that perhaps we shouldn't respond because it would make the terrorists angry and perhaps make them want to do something more. But I think we have to remember that they're already angry with us and they've already done something. And I think we have no choice but to respond to that.
Anybody else on that topic? Yeah, up here. Hang on.
I agree, but I also think that another reason why we have to respond is otherwise we'll look weak in the face of terrorism.
Anybody got fears about that? Looking weak and what that may lead to down the road? Anybody else? Yes. Yeah, go ahead. You right here.
Yes, if we don't do something, this is going to make America look weak, and this will just open ourselves up to further attacks.
Anybody got the other side of that? Anybody with the other the other viewpoint on that? Concerned about what the impact will be if the response is too strong, that perhaps itself leads to a worse situation?
If we are going to blow up a country, as some people have suggested, what will that do with the other countries around them, their allies? Will we get attacked by more people and more attacks throughout the world, our heartland?
Good question.
I think we're basically one of the strongest countries out there, and that our forces or whatever we use to take care of this problem it's going to be substantially good no matter how much or how less we use, just because our power is looked at by so many countries, and it's just a basis that we do something.
Sir, that's going to have to be the final word. We very much appreciate it. Thanks to you all. Mr. McCormick's class, Professor McCormick, thank you so much. Appreciate it here. We will continue our travels around this country to give you some sense of what is going on out here in the rest of the country. That's the latest from Marquette University in Milwaukee. Back to you, folks.
Boy.
Jeff, thank you very much.
Thanks
Good to hear from the young people, and thank the professor as well.
Yeah, the comments like these kids are making the same comments we've been hearing all over the place. Folks are on the same page in this country. All right, let's check in now with our Brian Palmer, who's at St. Vincent's Hospital in New York, a hospital that has seen much of the carnage created by this nasty terrorist activity. Let's go to Brian now live. He's got some you have some updated information for us now, Brian?
Indeed, we were just updated by spokesman Mark Ackerman on the current situation here at St. Vincent's Hospital and Medical Center.
Here at our Manhattan facility, and one die at St. Vincent's in Staten Island. There have been a total of 83 fire and police individuals cared for here in Manhattan, and we've had 95 admissions. We're pleased that a number of those people who have been admitted here in Manhattan have been discharged and are now home resting comfortably with their families.
Now, in addition, the hospital's medical director, Dr. Anthony Gagliardi, said that 11 patients had been seen since last night, mostly emergency personnel with cuts and abrasions. The spokesman announced that a website is still under construction that would list patients' names on a citywide basis, being put together by the Greater New York Hospitals Association and the city's Office of Emergency Management. But it's still not online. They said that there are other websites out there listing patient names. They're well-intentioned, the spokesman said, but not necessarily accurate. Now, we'd like to show you some rather compelling video that's slightly more upbeat. It's a reunion of two World Trade Center workers who were trapped in the rubble together. They couldn't see each other, but they were trapped in the rubble. Marlena Cruz, who is a carpenter at the World Trade Center, and Artie Del Bianco, a 20-year veteran of the World Trade Center, an operations engineer. Mr. Del Bianco could hear Marlena Cruz calling to him in the rubble. His leg was crushed, but they got back together.
That is fantastic. Thank you very much, Brian Palmer, reporting to us there from St. Vincent's Hospital in New York. We take you now to Washington, folks, now for the latest briefing by the Undersecretary of Defense there at the Pentagon.
Make no mistake about it, we will win. As a first step in that direction, the President yesterday sent to the Congress a request for a $20 billion emergency supplemental for the year 2001, and I'm here just to sketch in broadest terms our thinking on that supplemental. It's government-wide. It's not just the Defense Department, but obviously a very great portion of those needs are to prepare our armed forces for whatever the President may ask them to do. There are obviously other needs as well. There are needs of the victims, both here and in New York. There's rebuilding to be done both here and in New York. There are costs already incurred with combat air patrols that have been maintained over a significant number of American cities, including Washington. The costs mount rapidly, and they will mount more rapidly as this campaign develops. We appreciate the indications we've had from the Congress of strong support for this request. And we, of course, will work very closely with the Congress as we develop the details of how this money may be used. I think the most important point to stress is that this is a message to those who support terrorism that the United States is serious about the president's words. This is an indication of America's purpose.